A joyous unseen portrait of the Queen has been released on the eve of her funeral as King Charles issued a heartfelt message of thanks to the nation. The late monarch looks radiant as she beams in the photo shared by Buckingham Palace ahead of the state funeral on Monday as the nation prepares to say a final goodbye. The picture was taken at Windsor Castle in May ahead of the Platinum Jubilee celebrations. In a message, also shared on Sunday night, Charles thanked members of the public who have been such a support and comfort to the royal family in their grief for the late Queen. He said that he and the Queen consort have been so deeply touched by messages they have received from across the UK and around the world. The King, who has carried out a UK tour with Camilla following his mother's death, added that they have been moved beyond measure by well-wishers who have turned out to pay their respects. Charles said, "Over the last 10 days, my wife and I have been so deeply touched by the many messages of condolence and support we have received from this country and across the world." The portrait of the late Queen and message from Charles were released on Sunday night. Image, Getty/PA, the late monarch looks radiant as she beams in the photo taken in May. Image, Ronald McKechnie, in London, Edinburgh, Hillsborough and Cardiff. We were moved beyond measure by everyone who took the trouble to come and pay their respects to the lifelong service of my dear mother, the late Queen. As we all prepare to say our last farewell, I wanted simply to take this opportunity to say thank you to all those countless people who have been such a support and comfort to my family and myself in this time of grief. The Queen wears a light blue dress in the new portrait complete with diamond clip brooches, which were an 18th birthday present from her father George VI in 1944. She also wears her favorite 3-strand pearl necklace and pearl earrings. The image was taken by photographer Ronald McKechnie, who also snapped the Platinum Jubilee portrait of the Queen released to mark the start of festivities for her historic 70-year reign in June. Charles said he and Camilla had been so deeply touched and moved beyond measure. Image, Getty, Charles has visited the 4 nations of the UK since becoming king. Image, Getty, Ronald McKechnie also took this portrait released for the Platinum Jubilee celebrations in June. Image, Ronald McKechnie. It comes ahead of the funeral at Westminster Abbey on Monday on what will be a day of pageantry, military processions and solemnity. It will be a national bank holiday to allow as many people as possible to say a final farewell to the beloved royal matriarch. 2,000 people including foreign royals, world leaders, presidents and prime ministers will be in the congregation at Westminster Abbey. Prince George, 9, and Princess Charlotte, 7, will join their parents Prince William and Kate to remember their great-grandmother. 4-year-old Prince Louis, who won the hearts of the nation with his cheeky antics during the Platinum Jubilee celebrations, will not attend. The lying in state at Westminster Hall is due to end at 6:30 a.m. on Monday ahead of the funeral. The new king will lead the country in mourning for its longest reigning monarch on Monday. Image, Getty, the Queen has been lying in state at Westminster Hall ahead of the funeral. Image, Getty, people continued to queue for the lying in state on Sunday night. Image, PA, members of the public have flocked to the capital from all over the country to queue for up to 24 hours to pay their respects to the late monarch. The coffin will be taken in a procession led by Charles from the Palace of Westminster to Westminster Abbey for the state funeral at 11 a.m. on Monday. Before the service, the tenor bell will be tolled every minute for 96 minutes, marking the years of the Queen's life. The Dean of Westminster, the Very Reverend Dr. David Hoyle, will say in the bidding, "Here, where Queen Elizabeth was married and crowned, we gather from across the nation, from the Commonwealth, and from the nations of the world, to mourn our loss, to remember her long life of selfless service." He will speak of the Queen's unswerving commitment to a high calling over so many years as monarch and head of the Commonwealth. Prince George and Princess Charlotte will attend the funeral. Image, Getty. George and Charlotte to attend Queen's funeral. Prince George and Princess Charlotte will attend the state funeral of their beloved great-grandmother the Queen. The order of service showed the 9-year-old future king and his 7-year-old sister will gather with 2,000 people in Westminster Abbey as millions watch the televised service across the globe. Read more here. The Dean will say, "With affection we recall her love for her family and her commitment to the causes she held dear." The service will be televised, and a national 2-minute silence will follow, the last post being sounded at 11:55 a.m. The Reveille, the national anthem and a lament, played by the Queen's Piper, will bring the service to an end at approximately noon. The coffin will then be taken in procession from Westminster Abbey to Wellington Arch and then travel to Windsor. The US President and First Lady, pictured on Sunday, are among world leaders attending the funeral. Image, Getty. French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte, pictured on Sunday, are attending the funeral. Image, PA. Once there, the hearse will travel in procession to St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle via the Long Walk, after which a televised committal service will take place. Later in the evening, there will be a private interment service with members of the royal family. The Queen's final resting place will be the King George VI Memorial Chapel, an annex to the main chapel, where her mother and father were buried, along with the ashes of her sister, Princess Margaret. Her beloved husband Prince Philip's coffin will move from the royal vault to the Memorial Chapel to join his wife. The King held an audience with the Prime Minister on Sunday. Image, PA. The nation fell silent for 1 minute at 8 p.m. on Sunday to remember the late Queen. Image, Getty. Ms. Trust stood outside 10 Downing Street with her head bowed during the minute's silence. Image, Getty. Kate held an audience with Ukraine's First Lady on Sunday. Image, PA. Camilla paid a televised tribute to the late monarch on Sunday. Image, BBC. Trending it come after Charles hosted a reception at Buckingham Palace on Sunday evening for presidents, prime ministers and royalty from across the globe. US President Joe Biden, French President Emmanuel Macron, New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau were among world leaders at the glittering event alongside Prime Minister Liz Truss, who had an audience with the King earlier on Sunday. King Felipe and Queen Letizia of Spain, King Carl XVI Gustav and Queen Sylvia of Sweden, and Queen Margrethe II of Denmark were represented European royal families. Ukraine's First Lady Olena Zelenska, who earlier met the Princess of Wales for an audience at Buckingham Palace, also attended. Prince William, Kate, Prince Edward, Sophie Wessex, Princess Anne, her husband Vice Admiral Sir Tim Lawrence and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester were among royals who mingled with guests along with Charles and Camilla. Meanwhile, the nation fell silent for 1 minute at 8 p.m. to remember the late Queen, the only monarch most Britons have ever known. Ms. Trust stood outside 10 Downing Street with her head bowed during the national moment of reflection shortly before. Camilla paid a televised tribute to the late monarch saying, "I will always remember her smile."